How would you compare life in Singapore versus Hong Kong?
I can give you a unique perspective. Well, if you're single, it's fairly obvious. Hong Kong is good. But you see, Singapore has a natural selection, right? So for example, if I'm in the UK or Canada or US or somewhere outside of Hong Kong, and I have a family, maybe a young family, and I get offered a position to head up the Asia office. I say, here's $10,000 US, go to Hong Kong and Singapore, decide where you want to live. You're always going to choose Singapore, right? Because it's safe, you get more and better rental real estate versus Hong Kong. Hong Kong's still a very old kind of city, and there's old buildings, there's stairs,
tiny apartments,
So by definition, Singapore has kind of selected the kind of expat it wants, which is a little slower, a little more stable. But, Singapore, they say, well, everybody says Hong Kong is more exciting. Well, we're just going to build a casino in the middle of town and take that, right? So I think people don't give Singapore enough credit. Now, of course, if your world is going out clubbing till 4 or 5 a.m., well, not many options here, I guess. In Hong Kong, there's more of that type of nightlife and that type of energy. But by far, I think Singapore is a better place to live and have a family. And
yeah, people say before the whole thing started happening like a few years ago in Hong Kong, like Singapore and Hong Kong, they're like competitors. Now it's like maybe Singapore and Dubai, but before like Singapore, Hong Kong. What do you think the future of Hong Kong now? Like, is it still like the big
thing? You're totally right. Back then, Singapore and Hong Kong, there was this underlying competition because they were both considered quite, they were Western speaking, they had a strong judicial system, rule of law, but Hong Kong was attached to the biggest and fastest growing market in the world, and Singapore wasn't.
Yeah. So China,
which is China, right? But I would say, just to answer your question, I think the spirit and energy of the people in Hong Kong is irreplaceable, right? Because it's a hustle society. It's highly capitalistic. But I always say that there's like software and hardware, right? So the hardware are the people, and that's not going to change, and they will evolve because they're mercantilists as DNA, right? But the economy is really slow. And so the economy is slow because it was created to service China. So now it needs to evolve into something else. Maybe it's tourism, maybe it's an art scene, maybe it's crypto related, maybe it's AI related. So all of these things are happening. But, it's like a business. If you're relying on one customer to survive, it's not a good business, right? So I think that's what's happening. You made so much money, but when that one customer decides, I need to think elsewhere, your business slows down. Singapore is probably a better run economy because the decision makers and policymakers, they don't think 5 years, 10 years, they think next generation.
Yeah.
So if I make a decision now, how is it going to affect the next generation? And that's unique.
Yeah.
Unique. And also it has the ability to make decisions quick. And if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. So I remember, say, for example, a wrong decision. Well, not at the time, but they decided to be the place where the first Chinese IPOs would list. So a lot of them, not because of Singapore, but a lot of them turned out to be not real or not good companies. And then there was, they wanted to be the education center for Asia. That still works to today. Chicago, NUS, they decided to be the biotech capital for Asia. And these decisions happen very quickly, and that's very unique about Singapore. Yeah. So Hong Kong, I think it's going to take time. Like if you go down now, it's happening. The restaurants are full, but the economy is slow.
Do you think Singapore is exciting?
I do. I think there's enough to be excited about. And, I have a different mindset. I think, if you want something, you need to find it. It's not like if you're in New York or if you're in Paris. Well, if you want culture, you go to a museum or you go to Notre Dame and take some pictures. Like here, if you want culture, go find it. You go to Little India, you go to Chinatown, if you want to hear poetry readings, there's some somewhere. So you have to look for it. And I think it's exciting enough. Being exciting is overrated a little bit.
I think people have their own idea about Singapore when they come on a visit for 3 days. They go to Marina Bay Sands, Singing Trees, all the tourist spots. I fully agree with you. Like there are a lot of things that you need to look for. Like I interviewed this guy, he's American and he does wrestling, like a proper like American wrestling, you know, the show thing. And he actually told me like there are like few groups of like wrestlers in Singapore and you would never imagine that exist in Singapore. So yeah, and culture-wise also, like there are a lot of exhibitions and stuff, but it's just not like, yeah, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
like
you have to, and I think that's what makes it fun. In Hong Kong, the places are more obvious. You know, you go trekking, you know, there's a Buddha, you take the cable car. One thing Hong Kong has, which is amazing, I think it's underappreciated by people, is the type of hiking. You know, Hong Kong is a mountain, so it's not a typical global city. A typical global city, you know, it's flat, there's some river in the middle like Buenos Aires or Paris or New York, but it's a mountain because it was a port city. So on one side of the mountain is where all the business is, and on the other side of the mountain, clean water, nice homes, you know, where people go wakeboarding and stuff. So hiking on that mountain, it's amazing, beautiful. And unfortunately, that's just Hong Kong has that over Singapore. But other than that, you know, we really love it here. We're not moving. We're here for the long term.